Welcome to JWL Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the country. Now, you're probably wondering, why should I watch over here instead of over there? Because over there, they don't care about what you have to say. They talk down to us. They don't read any of the comments. They think we're just a bunch of clowns on YouTube and Twitter. They say this all the time, but I think it's the opposite. I think we know exactly what we're talking about. So I read every single comment. So if you think what I'm saying is the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, let me know in the comments below. If you think what I'm saying is the most amazing thing you've ever heard, then also definitely please let me know. Either way, let's get into some discussions, let's get into some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and it's turning into something truly, truly special. I really want to build something that we all genuinely feel excited to be part of, something that we're proud and can't wait to engage with every single day. And I really think we can do it, and honestly, I think we're well on our way to doing it. So without further ado, let's get to it. Watching a clip with Colin in the herd, talking about CJ Stroud's 3-touchdown performance in the pretty much the massacre of 45-14. This game was actually a better game than I think the score made it look like. I think you look at that score and you just say, wow, CJ Stroud demolished them and this, that. I think Joe Flacco actually played pretty well. He made some really unbelievable throws. At the very least, Flacco proved that he should still be in the NFL and you could still win with him. I mean, he really did some really great things. Obviously, he had that one bad interception that was not good, which all quarterbacks do that, right? That happens to everyone. And then the other interception, at that point, now you're in desperation mode because the defense, because the defense for Houston just knows that, we could just go headhunting right now at this point, right? We know that he has to drop back. They're going for it on 4th downs, and you're just throwing up prayers at this point. So that's when the score starts to kind of really get out of control. And so I don't think the 45-14 is really indicative of how that game truly unfolded, just like how the Cowboys game versus Packers, you look at that box score and you say, wow, Dak Prescott played pretty well. Yeah, he had 2 bad interceptions, but he almost threw for 400 yards and threw for all these touchdowns. And the score, it was only a 2-score game, and it's like, no, it wasn't, right? And so I think that's kind of why this game, if you just look at the box score, it's a little misleading. If you really watch the game, it was close. And also, I think when you watch a game, if it's close right up until, say, like the 3rd quarter or something, or the 4th quarter or whatever time you want to set up, and then it just kind of opens up and explodes, that game is closer than it looks. The way how sports works is sometimes things just get busted wide open, and once it happens, it's a floodgates, and it gets kind of out of control. But yes, that did happen, right? If you're playing basketball or football and it's a close game, and then in the 4th quarter, the Lakers go on a 20-0 run, and now they win by 20. They won by 20 technically, right? And you're like, well, they won by 20. That's the way it was. It's like, yes, but a lot of things kind of had to have happened for that to unfold the way it did. So that's why you have to watch the games. And so I don't think, right, like the Packers went into the Cowboys and truly beat them and said, this is our game. We are here. Let's go. You have no chance at beating us. That's what the Packers did. That is not what the Houston Texans did. So the Houston Texans, put it this way, you watch that game and I look at and I say the Packers have a chance at beating the 49ers. I watch this game and I don't say, oh my God, Houston has a chance at beating, the Ravens. I mean, technically, of course, they have a chance, but I'm not like saying, I'm not like on the edge of my seat of like, oh my God, is this what's going to happen? Maybe I'll be proven wrong by that. Maybe it'll be closer than I think, but that's just not necessarily what I saw. Because again, Stroud played pretty well, but again, football, especially once games start to open up and you start to get, play with a lead and this or that, the game changes so much and it just changes it, right? It's why Dak Prescott was able to start to throw touchdowns and throw for so many yards because the Packers were already winning by so much. And, the Browns were held to only 14 because they started to be down by so much that it was just like, again, they're just now launching it. They're just throwing the ball downfield. It's like it's practically Hail Mary after Hail Mary, and it's just you're in desperation mode. And at that point, it either works or it doesn't. And if it doesn't work, the score gets even worse. You know what I mean? So it just becomes a little bit more different.
In CJ Stroud's performance, Flacco attempted 46 passes.
See, that's a lot of passes.
34. C.J. Stroud only attempted 21 and
I don't watch this clip. I didn't watch this clip yet, and I'm gonna play. I don't want to keep talking, but like that proved my point. First of all, like Flacco played pretty well, and Flacco had to throw damn near 50 times. That's a lot. That's a lot. I mean, like that's something. And again, C.J. Stroud played unbelievable. I'm not taking anything away from Stroud, so please do not come at me and say that I'm telling you that Stroud is not good. Like, I think Stroud played unbelievable, and I'm really happy for him because, again, preseason or pre-draft, like, they're saying that he's dumb and not smart enough and, all this type of stuff. So believe me, like, I am happy for him. I am definitely a fan.
Completed 16. They didn't ask him to carry the franchise, and that's part of his success. Now, he was compared to Jared Goff out of college, and I thought that was fair. Neither one athletically. There's not a lot of juice, but they're great pocket throwers. But nobody thought he would be this good. And predicting quarterback success
look how
is
wide open
the hardest
this is.
thing in the league. I mean, Brock Purdy was the last guy drafted. Everybody, including the Niners, passed on him at least 6 times, and most teams 7. So C.J. Stroud and Jordan Love, we have 2 new franchise quarterbacks. And I watched a lot of crappy quarterback play this year, college and pro, so that's what I'm rooting for. More young quarterbacks to hit. What my eyes tell me.
And that also, it just shows you how good you can be when you have a good offensive coordinator. Because the Browns have a good defense, and when you looked at those replays, you could see all the time Stroud had in some of these moments, or if it was a tighter pocket where he didn't have as much time, he was still throwing the ball in such open space. I mean, like, they just put him in a position to succeed. That's really what it comes down to. They put Stroud in a position to succeed rather than make this happen for us. There is a big difference, and that is what a good offensive head coach or a great offensive coordinator can do. And the Texans, I keep wanting to say Browns, the Texans have that. Right, they have that. Their offensive coordinator is definitely an up and comer, and will without a doubt in the next couple of years, he'll be equivalent to the Ben Johnson, Shane Steichen. He will get a head coaching job. And then the real question is then what happens to Stroud?
Me with C.J. Stroud and Jordan Love is kind of effortless accuracy and a self-belief. They play loose. They believe in themselves. They let it rip. They don't overthink it. But it's interesting. It's really hard to guess who's going to work and who's not. And even the people that liked Jordan Love, Matt LaFleur liked him. He can't even explain this. Like, after the game, Matt LaFleur was like, that's a dude. And I think the people that liked C.J. Stroud didn't envision this. But again, 16 of 21, put him in positions to succeed. He's got a great left tackle, excellent defensive coach. But here's what's interesting. If you get the quarterback and the head coach right, everything falls into place. Green Bay, preseason, PFF, a group we like, had Green Bay's receiving group ranked 27th. Houston's was ranked dead last, 32nd. You get the quarterback right. You get the coach right. Seattle's got everything right, except the quarterback.
And that's why preseason and pregame analysis means nothing to me. And I've said this now repeatedly on this channel. I'm so uninterested in these predictions and preseasons. I don't really try to predict games. Sure, I'm going to talk about what I think could potentially happen, but I don't make predictions. And Colin Cowherd said that the Rams were going to win. He was wrong. He said that the Cowboys were going to win, and he was wrong. I think he had the Browns win, and he was wrong. I mean, so, and same thing with, I'm going to be reviewing some videos in a moment from First Things First. I mean, they were all wrong with their predictions. They all said that all these teams were going to win, and they didn't win. They said these other teams were going to lose, and they didn't lose. So this whole idea that we can predict things regularly or consistently is nonsense to me. Absolutely nonsense.
Quarterback. Right? Like, you get the quarterback. This receiving group was considered the worst in the league. I don't know. C.J. Stroud makes them look really good. So here was D'Amico Ryans after the playoff win.
C.J. is the reason why we're in this position. He's special young man, special player, continues to shine no matter how big the moment is. Like, our whole team is leaning on him, and he has the shoulders to carry that weight and he shows up week after week. He continues to improve week after week. No moment is too big for him. And when you have a young player who can shoulder the load of your team and the way the team is behind him, the confidence that he gives our entire team, it's so cool to watch.
Now, for the young guys, now the road gets really tough. Jordan Love, all those snaps, goes to San Francisco to face San Francisco, a brilliant coach, and a great pass rush. Houston, now they wait. They'll figure out their next journey. We'll get some clarity today. But it's going to get tougher. The coaching's better. The defense is better. The players are better. I had said going into the game I thought Houston would win. Not like that. Joe Flacco was a great story.
He had Houston winning that game.
I didn't think he was a great quarterback. He had 8 picks in 5 games this year. Now he's got, I think, 10 in 6. So I think the Flacco story sort of overwhelmed the truth that January Joe, he's older. He lets that ball loose sometimes into places that aren't ideal. The road will get tougher. But when I watch Jordan Love and C.J. Stroud, what I see is kind of
That's so disingenuous, Colin Cowherd, because you were talking about Joe being great and how they look better with him than any of these other quarterbacks, especially Watson and this and that, and how dumb the Jets look for letting go of Joe Flacco and not seeing it, and how that should be on Robert Saleh. And now you're saying, oh, well, he was never that good. I mean, that's like, my God, be consistent. I mean, and Colin is pretty consistent, and he admits when he's wrong for the most part, but a little comment like that is just nonsense, because you are absolutely high on Joe Flacco. No ifs, ands, or buts. So that's just kind of absurd.
Self-belief. They kind of let it rip. They believe in themselves. Kind of effortlessly accurate. Kind of play comes easy to them. But it is amazing to look at these receiving groups. PFF were like awful. The quarterback plays well. Everybody. I mean, Green Bay's look sensational.
I can't wait to see the offseason quarterback rankings, Colin.
Again, doesn't mean any difference to me. But, yeah, I mean, C.J. Stroud, again, we got to say that also, the Browns they're not necessarily a great playoff team either. Because think about it. Think about how the Browns are in here and the Steelers are in here in the playoffs. I mean, those are 2 teams that really shouldn't have been. If Joe Burrow doesn't get injured, the Bengals should be in there. If Justin Herbert doesn't get injured and actually has a legit head coach, or if my God, I mean, literally Shane Steichen and backup quarterback Gardner Minshew almost beat Houston to get into the playoffs and leave them on the sidelines. So this was like a very strange year because of injuries and organizations that just don't have their act together. So it's not so much, like the Broncos and Russell Wilson. So it's not so much of these other teams were just so much better, beat out these other teams. So the competition is high. It's more like these players either got injured or they're poorly run organizations. So these other average organizations were able to make their way into the playoffs. You know what I mean? I mean, like, do you really look at the Bengal or the Browns as like as a true playoff contender? No. Do you really look at Houston as a true playoff contender? I mean, you see that game and you think so, but I don't know. I mean, you just played a team that really wasn't that, necessarily elite, that in any other year most likely wouldn't have even been in the playoffs, and yet, here they are. I mean, think about it. Think about this. 3 teams in the same division, the Browns, the Steelers, and the Ravens all made the playoffs. I mean, that's pretty wild. I don't know how many times has that ever happened before. If Trevor Lawrence didn't get so badly injured, I mean, he had like 4 different injuries in like 4 weeks. I mean, his ankle, his shoulder, his finger, his this and that. I mean, like, the guy was broken down, and so that team just kind of collapsed. So there's all these different things that really had to have happened to have all these teams in the playoffs. So I just think this has been a wild year. One of the wildest years in recent memory for me, to be quite honest. So which then makes it a little bit more tricky to evaluate. And again, it's not to say that Houston didn't play well or that Stroud is not good or that they can't continue to make noise. But, I mean, I just don't watch this and say, okay, I think Houston can beat the Bills. I think Houston can beat the Ravens. I think Houston could beat I don't think the Chiefs are that special, but I still think probably the Chiefs would win because I think the Chiefs defense would do enough to disrupt Houston. And I think, so yeah, it's been fun so far and been definitely really fascinating to see. And again, it's really cool to see these young quarterbacks really step up because it kind of gives you some good optimism for good football moving into the future. It's like, a few years ago when all of our elite quarterbacks were retiring and were no longer who they were, right? Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Rivers, Andrew Luck retiring, right? It's just like all these quarterbacks who are just being like, all right, I'm done. And it's like, okay, well, what's this new batch got, right? And we really did have this point when it was just like, you had like 3 good quarterbacks and everyone else was just like awful. It was like 3 good elite quarterbacks, a chunk of average, and then the rest was just like, you're awful. Now it feels like we kind of got good quarterbacks all over the place. And even if they don't play consistently elite all the time, they still have the ability to like really wow you. So the league just feels like we're in a great place right now. And to me, this game really highlighted it, and I'm really excited for it. But what do you all think? Do you think CJ Stroud proved to be a future Hall of Famer, like Greg Jennings said? Do you think that Houston can actually continue to make noise in the playoffs? Let me know in the comments below. Would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on this one. And please don't forget to subscribe. We are building an amazing community here, and I truly, truly would love to see you part of it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really helps with the visibility and the algorithm, and I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much, and see you next time.